Well, let's discuss what's happening in Ukraine with author and blogger of The Russophile, Anatoly Karlin. So President Yanukovych is being accused of betraying national interests by turning down this deal with the EU. He says it's bad for the economy. Do you agree with Yanukovych? And what do you think are his options at this point?
Well, we have to look at this objectively. What the U.S. was offering was $600 million spread over many years and perhaps some help with negotiating an IMF loan. The IMF loan was much bigger, $15 billion, but it came with some conditions such as a salary freeze, spending cuts, and a 40% rise in gas prices. With the elections coming up in March 2015, Yanukovych simply cannot afford to accede to those demands, especially since the EU is demanding a lot, but it isn't giving a lot. For instance, there's no visa-free travel, so free trade between Europe and Ukraine will destroy a lot of the heavy industry, especially in the eastern part of the country, where Yanukovych and the Party of Regions has a lot of their electorate. And on the other hand, the young people who are more disposed against Yanukovych, they're not going to get free labor movement with Europe. They're not going to be able to emigrate to serve lattes in Dublin. They're going to be voting against him instead. So it's really not surprising that Yanukovych ended up disregarding the rejecting the EU deal, simply because Russia is offering better conditions in terms of money, about $10 billion to the EU's $600 million. And,
so what do you think? So I apologize for jumping in. What do you think Yanukovych could do at this point? He has perhaps these reasoned arguments for not wanting the deal with the EU, but there's hundreds of thousands of people on the streets. He's got to deal with them somehow. What do you think is the best move?
I think he's got to stick it out. There's no going back now. If he does go back, then he's also going to disappoint his existing supporters who support his current course, and he's obviously not going to get back the support of those who are protesting. And another thing we have to bear in mind is that this threat might look threatening, but even the Orange Revolution in 2004, it was not made by the street. It was made by a court judgment which ruled that the elections had been illegitimate and called for new elections.
Now, the EU agreement could still be revisited at a later time. Why do you think the opposition in this case chose protests instead of having more dialogue about the pros and cons of EU integration?
I think because first of all, slogans work better than recent arguments about the economics, which frankly don't interest too many people. And secondly, it feeds into the basically, Eastern Ukrainians, they're a bit more, they support the Party of Regions, but they're more politically apathetic in general, whereas Central Ukrainians and Western Ukrainians, they're actually willing to go out and protest and make their voices heard. And so the opposition, Tanyibok and Yatsenyuk and Klitschko, they really do have an incentive to go out and galvanize the people.
Who do you think could stand to benefit from the unrest? Is there more to the protest than just a trade deal?
Who stands to benefit? Well, frankly, I don't think anybody stands to benefit because, first of all, although these protests went off peacefully, today they went into the other direction. We've had these hilarious scenes of that bulldozer trying to pile through the Berkut police forces surrounding the government buildings in Kiev, and we've had Molotov cocktails being thrown at the police. And although these make for really good TV footage, there's also going to be a lot of people who are staying in their homes and who are witnessing this, and who will be turned off by this violence. So I don't think it will benefit the opposition in the long term once tempers cool down, as they inevitably will. Winter is coming, it gets colder, people aren't as willing to stand out in the cold to protest during January. And it's obviously not doing any good for Ukraine's economy either, because it's a precarious enough state as it is. There's debt repayments coming up, and it would really be in its favor to focus more on the technocratic economic side of things as opposed to these political games.
All right, blogger Anatoly Karlin, thanks for your time.
Thank you.